Hey, it's Red Seat Secrets, and I've got a question for you. Is this government shutdown really about money, or is it just about the Democrats flexing for their far-left base? Senator John Kennedy just lit up the Senate floor, calling out what he says is the real reason for all the drama. Fear of the party's socialist wing. Yeah, I'm talking AOC and the crew. Here's the deal. The government's shut down. Again, flights could stall, paychecks are frozen, and everybody's pointing fingers.
Senator John Kennedy is with us, Republican from the state of Louisiana. Right now, the government is shut down.
Yes.
The reason the government stopped being shut down the last time and was reopened was because of flight delays and the risk of the air traffic control system in America melting down. The FAA has now issued nationwide warnings that is about to happen again. Is that the pressure point?
It is a pressure point, but it only becomes a real pressure point if the majority leader allows a bill to come to the floor to allow us to pay the traffic control folks.
So is that how it's going to work? Everybody's going to go on strike until they get their pay?
We don't know yet. We're in uncharted waters to a certain extent. But there's been some talk about paying the traffic controllers. There's been some talk about a separate bill to pay the military, for example. But Senator Thune, of course, is the majority leader, and as you know, Leland, he controls the floor. And John says he's not offering up any bills. I wanted to do a bill to reopen the flood insurance program, and he said, as is his right, he said no.
Kennedy? He says, don't be fooled. The Senate Majority Leader, Chuck Schumer, controls what gets a vote. If he doesn't want air traffic controllers paid or specific programs open, it's not happening. That's not leadership. That's leverage. So why's Schumer holding the line? Kennedy says it's simple politics.
And Speaker Johnson has said the same thing.
Exactly.
Said we're not going to do that. And look, there's a reason for that because it's going to start breaking up the Republican caucus and the like. The other thing that could break up the Republican caucus is if Chuck Schumer decides to go make a deal with Donald Trump directly rather than trying to make it in the House or the Senate. How worried are you on that?
Well, there are two likely ways to get out of this. I don't think the Republicans are going to budge. Senator Schumer makes a deal with President Trump. But remember, it's still got to pass Congress. And right now, any sort of deal on the Affordable Care Act subsidies is going to have a tough time in the House, if not the Senate. The other way we could get out of this is if Senator Schumer went to 6 or 8 of his Democratic colleagues and said, look, I need a favor, vote to come out of the shutdown. I have to vote no. I may have to dog cuss you a little bit to look tough. It would be a lot of play acting, but that's a possibility.
Do you see any hope? And look, you're a friendly and affable guy. You got good relationships across the aisle.
I don't hate anybody.
Oh, that's a good thing. It makes you live longer. Have you talked to anybody across the aisle who's saying, hey, maybe it's worth ending this thing and getting us all out of this quagmire?
Yeah.
He claims the Democrats are acting tough so they don't look weak to their socialist base. Think about it. AOC is right there. And Kennedy jokes Schumer's nervous as a pregnant nun that he'll get challenged if he shows any sign of compromise. This isn't about policy, it's about survival. And get this, Kennedy floated the idea that Schumer might even try to cut a deal with Trump to end this whole mess. But even then, Congress has to sign off, and with gridlock like this, that's almost impossible. Kennedy says he's talked to Democrats. Some want it over, but they're paralyzed by political pressure. He calls it a political shutdown, not a policy one. It's Washington theater, plain and simple. One last kicker. Kennedy reminded everyone that federal law is the law of the land.
Senator Schumer, this is just one person's opinion, is right now he is nervous as a pregnant nun about his politics back home. He's worried that Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez is going to run against him. Also, the socialist wing of the party is demanding that the Democrats act tough and keep government shut down. The consequences be damned. I'm not saying there are not political pressures on the Republican side, but I think there are more political pressures on the Democratic side.
It was today that he said that he thought J.B. Pritzker and Brandon Johnson should be in jail for not following the Constitution. You're a constitutional lawyer.
Yep.
You know this well. Should they be?
Oh, look, I wouldn't have put it that way. What I would have said the president's way is more interesting, is we have this thing called the Constitution that I'm very fond of, and it has a provision in it called the Supremacy Clause, and I'm very fond of that too. And you, governor and mayor in Illinois, may believe that illegal immigration is not illegal, but it is, and whether you like the law or not, it's federal law is federal law, and it's the supreme law of the land, and you have to follow it. You have to follow it. And the president, I'm not suggesting we put them in jail, but the president does have some leverage in terms of federal funds, which, by the way, President Biden used to enforce a lot of the transgender athletics.
Calling out Chicago and Illinois leaders for ignoring immigration rules. He says the president has the leverage to enforce it, just like Biden has done before. Bottom line, Kennedy says Democrats aren't acting tough because they want this shutdown. They're acting tough because they're afraid not to. And while the games go on, it's regular Americans who pay the price. If you want more real talk from the halls of power, hit subscribe and turn on notifications.